So Van Riemsdyk, Bozak, Kessel. Do you like that line?
They do.
I think Van Riemsdyk will bring a little element to what Lupul brings, as in do the dirty work for those two guys.
Well, he's bigger than Lupul, right? Yeah. Will he do the dirty work? That's the question.
Well, he did. I know New York's a bad game to look at, but he did score a goal in front of the net where he's supposed to be on Lundqvist.
Yeah, that's true.
And Fleury too. He had the second goal of the game. When he drove the net, he actually had a really good game last week against Pittsburgh. He had that. I don't know if his wrist shot's always like that. Remember the third goal the Leafs scored, his second, where he stole the puck and he just fired it on net, and it was a laser. I didn't know Van Riemsdyk could shoot the puck like that. I don't know if he can or if it was a lucky shot or what.
Did Kadri get a point in the New York game?
No, he didn't. His point streak's done.
So
I had a bet with a guy at work. That's why I know that. He said he thought Nazem Kadri's point streak would go 10 games, and I said there's no way it'll end tonight. And he said, sure. I bet you it won't. I said, I bet you it will.
They're a far superior defensive team.
So, quick thoughts on the Ranger game, though.
Well,
it was a pretty brutal game.
I was working, so I couldn't even watch it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I didn't watch it.
I don't know. Well, I had the pleasure of watching it, and the Leafs were outshot 14-3 in the first period. The Rangers were all over them. Reimer had overall a good game. But first period, he was a rock.
He was hung out to dry in the game.
The Leafs are up 2-0 because Grabowski gets in behind the defense, scores a goal, and then on the power play, Van Riemsdyk gets a goal, and next thing you know, it's 2-0, and you're like, we're getting dominated, but we're up. Can we hold it? Obviously, they couldn't. You know what, though? The Leafs had a chance, at least in every game this season, even though they lost to New York, both New York teams, they held a 2-goal lead in the second or third period, or the second period, I should say, and they weren't able to hold it. And whether that's goaltending, whether that's defense, it's kind of like you'll agree with me, here we go again.
Well, what exactly would you expect was going to happen when you play Mike Koska and Dion Phaneuf for 32 minutes a game? Like, they're going to get tired. They were -7, where Dion Phaneuf was -7 at least. I don't know about Koska. I didn't check that. But
Phaneuf was -4, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was -7.
How? What do you mean -7?
-7. He made a comment on it yesterday.
On the season?
-7 in the game.
How can you be -7 in the game when the team only scores 4 goals?
I don't know. Maybe he did a lot of dumbass things. Anyways,
he was -4.
The point is, he was talking about it yesterday, and you can't play a defenseman or two defensemen for 32 minutes, 33 minutes a game who aren't number one defensemen. You can't, because they're going to be tired. They're not skillful enough.
Mike Koska isn't the number one defenseman. Phaneuf, he's not the prototypical. He's not Shea Weber. He's not Peter Angelo.
This is where we're going to disagree. Okay. Phaneuf is not a number one defenseman. Koska is closer to being a number one defenseman.
What's with you and your love affair for Mike Koska? I swear.
No, listen. Just because Koska is a 27-year-old rookie and no one knows anything about him, you know what? I know a lot about Mike Koska. I also know a lot about Dion Phaneuf. Dion Phaneuf in the last 3 or so years in Toronto has been a bum on defense. Now, I thought that was changing.
I'll agree with you. There's been a lot of times where he's looked like a bum. This year I think he's looked a lot better.
Not in that game.
I know he's
not in that game.
I know he was -4, but I don't find that he's running around as much in his own end. I don't think that he's trying to do as much.
I think it's the coach, it's the system, and it's his partner. Those are 3 huge equations there.
The Leafs were up 2-1 with about 16 minutes left in the third against the Rangers. The Rangers ended up, I think, with 41 shots. The Rangers dominated them. Leafs had no business being in that game, and eventually, when I think it was Mark Stahl that scored, that the boat started to sink because Gaborik then scored, Delzato
and it all happened
scored.
within minutes.
Yeah, it
was ridiculous,
unbelievable. On the script here, I have just Lupul. Justin wanted me to put Lupul.
Hold on here. I have other things I want to talk about. Are you trying to run this?
All right, I'll put my feet up and I'll listen to you talk.
Listen, okay.
gonna get you a Mike Koska jersey for your birthday.
When is the time we're gonna see, hopefully, finally, Randy Carlyle realize that, depending on what happens in the next few games, that whatever, JVR is fine on the first line. Kessel, of course, is going to be on the first line. But when are we going to see the actual number one center?
Who, Kadri?
Yeah. He is the number one center.
He's playing good.
Listen, it has nothing to do with how he's playing. He's playing well.
Bozak's played. I don't know about you.
Oh, Bozak, please. Bozak is good, but okay. I'm gonna tell you. This is a fact. This is a fact. Phil Kessel is a streaky scorer. Yes or no? Yes or no? Just answer the question.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, he's a streaky scorer. Why is he a streaky scorer? Was he a streaky scorer in Boston?
He was a streaky scorer his first 2 years.
Right. But he wasn't a streaky scorer where he would score for like 10 games and not score for 20 or 10, right? That's not how it was in Boston. But in Boston, he was playing with Patrice Bergeron and whoever else is centering that team like 4 or 5 years ago. Krejci. God. Anyways, so look at his center iceman now.
Actually, he played with Mark Savard, though. That was his center.
So
Savard got concussed.
Would you compare Savard to Bozak in any way?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
So you got to play with
Bozak
with what you're dealt with, though.
I mean, you could argue that Bozak is more of a hindrance to Kessel. People say, "Oh, let's get a number one center." If they're saying that, then they're admitting that Bozak is not good.
Like I said last week, though, Tyler Bozak isn't your prototypical number one center. He's probably a number 3 center on a good team.
Everyone says
but
that.
I don't think he's played bad. That's my point. I think he's been good on face-offs. He's been responsible defensively.
You know what I think the difference is between Bozak and Kadri?
What's that?
There's a huge difference, first of all.
Yeah, skill set.
Skill set, hands. But I think the only thing that's keeping Kadri out of taking Bozak's spot is face-offs.
Kadri's playing on the number 1 power play unit with Kessel.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not like... I know you want Kadri on the first line, but it's not... And you know what? Put him on the first line. I have no problem with that.
But just think about it. Think about how Kadri, every time he goes out there for a face-off, he loses it. Almost every single time. So do you think Carlisle's going to put him with Kessel against the best lines in the league? No. Bozak wins like 60% of his
My point is, Bozak's
face-offs.
on the first line because he's responsible defensively. Phil Kessel and Joffrey Lupul last year,
that's the difference.
They were ripped apart by the media because of how bad they would play on the defensive side of the ice.
Yeah.
And they would combine to be -6. They would be Phaneuf and Koska, essentially.
So I wonder, how do you think the first line would do defensively with Kadri centering instead of Bozak?
They definitely wouldn't be in. They would definitely.
It would be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, I think Phaneuf and Koska wouldn't be for that. I think Phaneuf and Koska would probably.
They'd have a long night.
They go into double digits for their plus-minus.
They'd have a long night.
Is 5 games too early to evaluate?
What, the Leafs?
Yeah. What have you liked? What haven't you liked?
I didn't think that it was going to be this close. I mean, look, the Rangers have the same record as the Leafs, but they dominated the Leafs. So what does that say? I mean, the Rangers are clearly the better team, but they have the same record. So we're not going to know. Like, I thought by the 5th game, we even said a couple shows ago, by the 5th game, we're going to know who's going to make the playoffs. Chicago, if they continue it, again, we can't even say. It's been 5 games. It's been 6 games for them. They've won all 6. But we still can't say that they're going to make the playoffs because did we think Chicago and the Sharks were going to be undefeated? No, we never thought that.
New Jersey?
Did we think New Jersey? Boston, I guess I would have assumed Boston. But on the other end of the spectrum, did we think that the Rangers would be 2-3?
No. Philadelphia?
Philadelphia is 1-3?
Philadelphia struggled. They are, let's see, I got it right here. They're 2-4.
Gee, that's an awful record.
Buffalo's 2-3. Washington's 1-3. They were a playoff team. Florida's 1-4. They were a playoff team. Philadelphia was a playoff team, 2-4. Buffalo was a fringe team.
Should I get to?
Before you get to whatever you want to talk about with Lupul, quickly goaltending. Who would you go with, Reimer or Scrivens?
Tonight,
Yeah.
Reimer hasn't faced Buffalo yet.
Reimer's played 2 games. I think he's played very well. 2.5 games. He came in for relief against the Islanders. He went into Pittsburgh, made some big saves, won him that game. If the Leafs played somewhat half-decent defense against the Rangers, Reimer could have won that game. And he played okay going in against the Islanders. He allowed a goal to Matt Molson. But other than that, he gave him a chance to come back at least. I agree. I would go with James Reimer. But just because Ben Scrivens was torn apart against the Islanders, you got to throw him back eventually. I mean, he did have a good game against Montreal. He had a good game against Buffalo. It's one bad game. 5 goals he gave up. The 2 in the third period he should have had for sure. But when do you throw him back in? Do you throw him back in against Washington? Do you throw him in against Boston? Or
I say Washington for sure.
Or do you do what happened 2 years ago when Reimer played really well, that all the Leafs did was play Reimer?